Hey everyone, Gabrielle Davis here with eXp Realty, and I'm here to give you your Q3 Alden Bridge market report. The reason I do this is because I live in Alden Bridge and I want to make sure my neighbors are educated and informed. So let me share my screen. We are going to go through these numbers fairly quickly because at the end, I'm actually going to talk about a lot of other things like the Fed fund rates, projections for interest rates, what's happening with housing and its pricing, things like that. So down here is the Woodlands. We're not going to review that, but I do track that as well, and as well as other areas. So if you ever need anything, just reach out and let me know. So Alden Bridge, September 2025, we had 28 new listings, which was up from September last year, and that's a good thing. We had one less sold property, so 5.6% down, but really it's only one property, not too bad. The average list price and the average sold price are both down. The average close to list price ratio is also down at 97.8%. Still not a bad rate. The price per square foot for a listed property is also down at $227. The average days on market is 24, and that is significantly up from last year. The months of inventory is 2.8, and that is up as well. The months of inventory means that if we had no new listings on the market and our sales continued in the same pattern, that we would be totally out of inventory in 2.8 months. So I want to come back to this days on market because some people are probably saying that doesn't sound quite right because my neighbor's house has been sitting there for 2 months. Well, you're right. This is just for sales. And the active in Alden Bridge right now is an average of 85 days on the market. But we need to remember pre-COVID, that was kind of normal. It's not normal coming out of COVID, but we have to really work on getting our mindsets away from what happened during COVID to a normal, balanced, healthy market. The market during COVID was very unhealthy. So I am going to actually go into the other items. So I'm going to stop recording for just a second and come back with my other slides. These are the 4 items I am going to chat with you about today. The Fed fund rate versus mortgage interest rates, how the 10-year Treasury yield fits in with the rates, projections for interest rates, and the dip in home values and projections for that as well. So the Fed fund rate, I get this all the time. A lot of people think it is the mortgage interest rate, and it's not. So the Fed fund rate is the rate that banks use to trade short term. And when the feds have a meeting, they cut that. That does affect mortgage interest rates. But I wanted to tell you what happened in September so that you can understand this. So prior to the September 17th Fed fund rate meeting, it's a mouthful right there, the confidence was very high in the mortgage industry that they were going to cut rates. So the month before, it was already built in anticipation of this, and rates dropped. Then when the feds cut rates on September 17th, the mortgage interest rate actually came up a little bit. So they're related, but not directly. You know, they all depend on economic data and go from there. So that's a big one. I just want to make sure that you are educated and know that they are different things. So now I'm going to talk about the 10-year Treasury yield and how that fits in. Let's see, there we go. So the 10-year Treasury rate is in blue and the 30-year fixed rate is in green. And you can see that they kind of go along hand in hand, right? And the average spread of 176 basis points is from 1971 to 2025. The average spread now from January 23 to September 25 is 259 basis points. So it's increased significantly. Note here that in January 23, it was 2.761. Here in September, it is 2.152. So the spread is getting smaller and it's normalizing. That's important to understand because Here's the yield rate, here's the spread, and here's our interest rate. And this is how these tie together here. And this is as of September 22nd. This is a chart showing the 10-year Treasury and how they're forecasting it to go down. So if this ties directly to the mortgage interest rates, right, and this is going down, well, so are the mortgage interest rates as well. And remember this big spread, as that's normalizing into the smaller spread, that's going to affect our interest rate as well. So here you have a 6.35 with today's spread. If it was a more normal spread, you would have an interest rate of 5.89. So this is really interesting, I thought, and I didn't know how many people knew this, so I wanted to put that out there. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the projections for interest rates. This chart was as of September 22nd this year. And the key thing here is to note every one of them is going down. Q3 is already done, and we were at 6.35. So we are already below all these projections. But again, the key thing is that all the projections are heading down. And as we know, with the higher rates, the 7.5 in this example, is weak buyer demand. There's not a lot of buyers out there. Then as it decreases, then it creates stronger buyer demand. And this is where it is now. And a lot of people I network with think that by the end of the year, early next year, we will see 6, maybe even dip into the 5s. So then we would be to the strong point, right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is home values dipping. So as you can see on this chart, the number of homes for sale are very high. And this is because homes are sitting longer. So your inventory is getting higher. With that scenario, that forces home prices to drop. And they have dropped a little bit since August. This is a national chart showing the home values. Some of these properties are up this year and some of them are down. Houston would be the closest to us, and that's about a 2% down. But we have to remember too, some people look at this chart and get freaked out. It doesn't even have on here how much appreciation we gained. My home from 2019 to today is up 70% in its value. And with those higher values comes higher costs. It comes higher property taxes, higher insurance. And these are the things all encompassed together that are creating affordability issues for our buyers. This is a chart that shows home appreciation year over year. And as you can see nationally, we're at 2.1%. And we don't want those double digits. COVID was a very unhealthy real estate market. This chart shows from 2025 to 2029, the estimated home appreciation forecasted. And again, this is decent growth. We don't want that huge double-digit growth. So this is a positive as well. Okay, so to wrap up, prices have dropped a little, yes. Homes are sitting a little longer, yes. But there's still opportunity and the future ahead looks pretty good. We're normalizing from COVID, which was a very unhealthy market and not the norm. We need to remember that. We also have to remember that in the last 5 decades, we've had some pretty big events and housing always recovers. There's opportunity right now for buyers with lower rates coming, house pricing taking a small dip, inventory up, and not a lot of competition. As far as sellers go, buyer confidence will increase even with minor rate cuts. So the best thing you can do really is to prepare now if you're thinking about listing. And I hope this kind of changes sooner than later for those currently listed because they are sitting a little bit longer. I also want to mention that I do work differently than most, and I would love the opportunity to show you how much value I can provide. I have programs for military, first responders, and teachers that save them money at the closing table. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. I can send you monthly reports on your neighborhood, this Alden Bridge report or just chat about the market or your situation. And if you want to grab a cup of coffee on me, let me know. So I hope everybody has a great day. Make it a good one, and I will see you next time.